All right, what else am I doing? Presenting. I got this. So what are you doing, Zach? What does that mean?
I don't know how you. My fingers are locked and I'm locked on.
Ah, you are magic, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Now, in the words of one of my favorite math teachers of years gone by, he would say, you know what, and this would be if you were in class, he would say, yeah, you're magic. Now, can you make yourself disappear? Like, because he didn't want them in the classroom anymore.
I mean, I can do that. I can disappear.
I know you can because you're virtual. All right, this is what you were supposed to do.
I can do it on their second if you'd like.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We still want you here. This was your virtual homework last night to do this problem. And in case maybe you didn't get to it, we're going to go over it really quick. And then the other three are pretty quick. So let's get this done.
And can we just relax?
Yeah, after you turn it in.
Watch commercial?
Perhaps we can.
Yeah.
All right, ready? You have a pencil ready to go? There have been many studies recently concerning coffee and drinking cholesterol, concerning coffee drinking and cholesterol levels. You don't want to drink cholesterol. You know what cholesterol is? It's between an Oreo cookie. That's what cholesterol is.
I guess I eat a lot of cholesterol.
Well, it's like hydrogenated oils and stuff. Like, just take the stuff in the middle of the Oreo cookie and shoot it into your veins. That would be quicker. No, I'm just kidding. That's gross. Okay. While it is known that several coffee bean components can elevate blood cholesterol levels, it is thought that a new type of paper coffee filter may reduce the presence of some of these components in coffee. The effect of the new filter on cholesterol levels will be studied over a 10-week period using 300 non-smokers who each drink 4 cups of caffeinated coffee a day. That's pretty much caffeine. Each of these 300 participants will be assigned to one of 2 groups, an experimental group who will drink coffee only from the coffee made with the new filter, or the control group who will drink coffee that has been made with the standard filters. Each participant's cholesterol level is measured at the beginning and at the end of the study using appropriate vocabulary from our study of surveys and experiments when answering the questions below. Design a completely randomized design, and that would look like this. Right here. 300 non-smoking coffee drinkers. Random assignment to group 1 has 150 people. Group 2 has 150 people. Group 1 gets the new filter. Group 2 gets the old filter. And then you bring them back together and you've compared their before and after cholesterol levels. This would be called a I guess it's not really matched pairs because they're not doing 2 experiments. So it's just a randomized design, completely randomized design. All right, everybody has something like that on their pages? Oh, no. You know what I was thinking for my AP people? Like, I see you guys hanging the little guys on your shields. That's kind of cute. I actually have little clips. But I was thinking I need to get something that, like, would sit on the desk and be a clear pouch that they could pouch their phones right at their desk to keep their hands off of those grubby phones. Because they're driving me crazy, especially in AP. Like, it's like, look, guys, we are getting ready for a big test in May. Keep your dang hands off the damn phones. So I got to come up with that over the weekend. Like, I have those guys hidden over here, but I need to, like, have one right here. So, I think a trip to Bed Bath & Beyond to the shoe department's in order. Because I could cut those shoe things up. You know? Always thinking. I fell asleep last night dreaming about that. Like, how am I going to keep AP students off their phones, but have them nearby enough so when I want them on their phones, they can grab them. All right. Okay, part B says, describe an appropriate method for assigning the subjects to two groups so each group has an equal number. So I said label the subjects 1 to 300. Use a random number generator. You don't really have to have this random int stuff here, but that's what we would do. That's why I have it covered up, because technically you don't need it to get full credit. Select 150 different numbers between 1 and 300 for group 1. You don't even really need to say between 1 and 300, right? Because that's all the random generator will do. Find the people who have those numbers and tell them they are group 1. That's the key thing that we forget. This is like super important. That after you've chosen the numbers, you tell the people, hey, your number came up, and while it's not time to go up to the good place, it is time to go to the experimental group number 1. And then what else do you have to do? Tell everybody else, you losers, you're in group 2. No, I'm just kidding. You wouldn't call them losers. Now, the reason it's important to have this comparison group is because what if, heaven forbid, something would happen like all of a sudden a pandemic would occur and the economy shuts down right in the middle of your study. If you don't have the comparison group, then the first 5 weeks or 3 weeks or 7 weeks of your study is toast. You're going to have to start it all over again. But if you have a comparison group, they're going through the traumatic situation the same time the other people are, and therefore you can keep your study going. Did you see that the past governor of Michigan is now being charged with the Flint water crisis? It's a good thing I have my smartphone, because I'm sure all the news that comes across my smartphone is true. Smartphone is not fake news. It is. I guess that's one thing we can thank Trump for, is we have the term fake news now. All right. Next part. In this study, they chose to include only people who weren't smokers. Oh, sorry, that's next. Researchers chose to include a group who only drank coffee made with a standard filter. Why is it important? I just answered that. Control groups establish a baseline for comparison results and reduce confounding variables. Should something happen to the water supply that could affect the cholesterol results, both groups will experience the event, so the treatment results will still be valid. We could still say the new filter caused the cholesterol level to decrease. And something traumatic happens or something unusual happens, and I used to think, well, what could that be? Well, then after this last year, you guys have all experienced it. You know what it could be. Like, seriously, if you think about it, if somebody would have told you at this time last year that in 2 months the entire country and world is going to shut down and you're going to go home and not be allowed out, who would have believed it?
I would.
And yet, it happened in March. That whole, I don't even remember much of this time last year to when the pandemic started, because my mom was not in good health, and I was so busy with her every other day getting a call and going to see her and seeing what traumatic situation she was experiencing, and then she passed away on March 12th, and when did the shutdown occur? Yeah, like the 13th or 14th. This year, Pi Day's on Sunday. Last year, I think it was on Saturday. And we didn't get to celebrate last year, so I'm hoping to celebrate this year. And then finally, I think the last question is it? Oh, why would they choose to only use non-smokers? Well, that's a form of control, and control reduces variability. And if smoking is something that increases cholesterol, then you wouldn't be able to tell, is the new filter not working because you got smokers? And that's increasing their cholesterol even though you're trying to decrease it with the new filter? You know what I'm talking about? All right, and what's the disadvantage? If you only use non-smokers, then the results can only apply to non-smokers. It might not matter for people who are smoking because they're compounding their cholesterol with the smoking. I think the sad part of that, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the nicotine companies actually were found guilty of putting substances in the cigarettes that would make you addicted quicker.
Yeah.
Or do they still do that?
Probably.
Like, I guess what I'm asking is if you just smoked tobacco leaves, would you still have all the problems? Or is it the substances they put in with the tobacco leaves that cause you problems with lung cancer and cholesterol? And I honestly do not know the answer to that question. And I have actually never put a cigarette to my lips and inhaled. I've never put a cigarette to my lips, inhaling or not. So I don't really know. I think I would gag and sputter and cough like none other if I actually inhaled a cigarette smoke thing for the first time. I think it'd be pretty ugly. One of my principals once called me out of my classroom and said, "Here, come here into the stairwell." They're like, "Can you smell that?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, it smells kind of funky. What?" He's like, "It's pot." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I believe you." I'm like, "I don't know." When we were on our honeymoon in Cancun, my husband and I were taking a walk and this guy kept asking us for something, like asking us if we wanted something, and I couldn't hear him. I'm like, "Excuse me?" And Chris is like, "Just keep walking. He's trying to sell us drugs." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And it's kind of pathetic, but. All right, so let's go get the new stuff done then. Does anybody have any questions on this example? All right, so let's go back to, let's do the sewing machine one. That one's fun. I think it's this. Yep. This is actually an AP question. So was that coffee filter one. These are actual questions that were put out there by the AP board of past tests. The scatter plot below displays the price in dollars and the quality rating for 14 different sewing machines. Describe the nature of this negotiation between price and quality rating. Well, what would you say about these dots? The scatter plot displays a okay, Maria said weak positive linear relationship. Anybody else have any difference of opinion?
Weak, positive, and non-linear.
All right, Sam says weak positive and nonlinear. I'll be honest, Maria, I saw it kind of linear-ish, but they actually see it as curved. So yeah, for part A, you want to say the scatter plot displays. And probably you guys don't have this done. Do you have your packet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because you're going to hand it in for 25 points. So, yeah. Just an invitation to join us if you wish. All right. I used to say that to somebody all the time. I think it was, you'll like this, you know him. I think it was Remy Maurer.
Right.
I'd say, "Remy, you're invited to join us in class today. Would you like to take something out of your binder?" He'd be like, "Oh, yeah, sorry." Poor guy. How's he doing? Do you know?
I think he's going to OU. He lives my neighborhood.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I had a sister too. He's a good kid. He just can't.
He's not a fan of school.
He is not a fan of school, nor is he a fan of organization or keeping, not losing things. Like, I could give him the same packet every single day. He would have never been able to keep these packets with him. This scatter plot displays a weak, positive, and I don't really care what you put, linear, nonlinear, or curved. They actually wanted us to say curved. Association between rating, nope, price and rating. Price and rating. My sewing machine died at the end of this summer, and I was very sad because I had like 5 more masks I wanted to stitch up. So I looked online to buy an old used sewing machine. They are expensive. So I just used $70 and had it like, the guy took it apart and cleaned it and re-greased it and put it back together, and it's worked better than it ever did when I first bought it. So just keep that in mind. If you sew things, sometimes it's just better to get an old one cleaned out and refixed than to buy the new one. Okay, one of the 14 sewing machines substantially affects the appropriateness of using a linear regression. Report the approximate price and quality of that machine and explain your choice. Which one is the outlier? The one all the way over here. I choose the one that is approximately $22,250 or $22.50. Why? Because it is furthest to the right, but it is not the highest. It is kind of lower than the other ones. Something to that effect. I'm not sure I wrote this down. Nope. So 2250, 65. 2250, 65. Furthest left and lower rating than expected.
It's right, not left.
No, it is right. And what does furthest right mean? And somebody else said right, but I wasn't really paying attention to you. Furthest right means most expensive, right? And what would we call that point? Does anybody remember? Your choices are regression outlier, leverage point, and influential observation. It's going to be a leverage point and influential observation because it will bring, the slope is going to be like right here, but if you take it out, wouldn't the slope be steeper with a lower y-intercept? Yeah, I remember this, Mrs. Garrett. Okay. So this is a high leverage point. And influential observation. Take it out. Slope decreases. And y, nope, slope increases if you take it out. And the y-intercept decreases. Okay, and one last part, I believe. And I think I put it on a separate thing. Chris is interested in buying one of the 14 machines. He will consider buying only those machines for which there is no other machine that has both a higher quality and a lower price. On the scatter plot reproduced below, circle all the data points that correspond to the machines that Chris will consider buying. Okay, so go over and look for the lowest price with the highest quality. So what's your first point that you're going to circle? Right here, this first point, is there any point that has a higher quality before it? Yep, all of those points. So I have to take that out of there. What about this point? Is that one of the machines he'll consider? Yeah, because it has the lowest price and there's nobody with a higher quality below it. All right, so go to the next highest quality. This guy, right? That guy right there has the highest rating of all of them. So do any of the other points to the right matter? No. If that one's rated the highest and it costs the least compared to all of these dudes, then he's probably going to go with that one. Or with the cheapest one. So there's only 2 points that meet his criteria. Do any of your parents have a machine that takes old reel-to-reel film and converts it to digital? Does anybody know anybody that does that? Like when I was growing up, my parents didn't take VHS film of us. He had like an old, like it actually like didn't have any audio on it. You had to use a cassette tape for that. So we have boxes of like our family at the beach, and my sisters and I running track and doing our drill team routines. And we'd like to convert them to digital before the film dries up and blows away in the wind. But we don't know which machine to buy.
There's like a commercial on the radio that talks about.
Yeah, you can pay somebody to do it for you, but as much as we have, it would cost us like thousands and thousands. And there's a machine out there for $400 that we could buy and do it ourselves. I just want to know if it's worth it or not.
I think it's definitely worth it.
I know, but I wonder if Mr. Kennan does that. I could talk to the boys in the Kenston Hub, what used to be known as the library. All right, that's the first least squares regression one. And now let's go to the airplane one. And then we only have one left. All right, commercial airlines need to know the operating cost per hour of flight for each plane in their fleet. In a study of the relationship between the operating cost per hour and the number of passenger seats, investigators computed the regression operating cost per hour on the number of passenger seats. The 12 sample aircraft used in the study include planes with as few as 216 passenger seats and other planes with as many as 410. The operating cost per hour ranged between $3,600 and $7,800. And here is the data. What is the equation using that data? Does anybody know which 2 numbers you have to hone in on? You got all these numbers right here. 2 of those numbers matter to us. Which are the 2? I am going to call people to make a guess. Julia, do you have a guess at what 2 numbers I should be thinking of? Yep, and? The one right underneath it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the constant is the 1136, and the seats are the 14.673. Does anybody know which goes with the X and which doesn't? What page is this?
32.
32? All right. I have selected Mr. Samuel Coltus. Does the 1136 or does the 14.673 go with the X?
The 14.6.
Yep. 14.673 times the number of seats, actually, is our F value. And then I'm going to add on the 1136, and that equals the predicted, so I give it a hat, operating cost. Which means if nobody except for the pilot and the co-pilot and the navigator or whatever they are up in the cockpit flying the plane, if only those 4 people are in the plane, how much does it cost to take the trip? It's going to cost the company if nobody's in the seats, in the passenger seats. Yep, it's going to cost $1,136, $1,136. All right. What is the value of the correlation coefficient? What is the letter of the correlation coefficient? Liz, do you know what the letter of the correlation coefficient is? I'm just seeing if you remember, like, it's a pirate's favorite letter. R. So the correlation coefficient is R, and did they give us R? No, Mrs. Garrett, they didn't, but they gave us R squared, so if I change it into 0.57, then I take the square root of 0.57, which I can do. On, second square root, 0.57, 0.7549. So the R value is 0.755. Interpret that value. The correlation coefficient verifies. The moderately strong linear association, and the correlation coefficient, by the way, was 0.755. The moderately strong linear association between number of passengers and operating cost to fly the plane. All right, now I only want to look from 250 to 350. Does the line shown in the scatter plot still provide the best description of the relationship in this data? Why or why not? So, focus on 250 to 350. 250 to 350, right? And Trent's going to answer our next question. Oh, yeah, he's in Florida. We should call him. Anybody have his number? Call him and say, Mrs. Garrett just called on you, dude. And you already have this done, so help us out. Okay. Does anybody know, is that line still good, yes or no? You guys online, even though I can't see Jenna and Alex, you either have to open up your video for a moment or give our chat me. How many people say it's still good? Thumbs up. How many people say it's not good? Thumbs down. What do you guys say at home? Thumbs up or thumbs down? If you focus from 250 to 350, is that line that's on that graph still good? Okay, I have a mix. Now, here's a little technique to use whenever they ask you a question like this on any type of AP test or on any type of test in general. It says to focus on 250 to 300. So let me scratch out before there and scratch out after there. Is that line good for going through those remaining dots? Heck no, because those dots are going downhill. If you just had these dots, wouldn't you come in here and do a line like that? So the answer to this question is no, because those dots or those points have a negative association. So, in a nutshell, the airlines are losing money out to wazoo right now because they can't fill their planes up. Right? They have to keep so much space between people. Has anybody flown during the pandemic? I haven't. Do they keep a lot of space in between families or whatever?
So if you're not in a party with someone, then they don't have anybody else in that row.
Okay.
Just like normal with masks.
Okay. But they're still not filling the capacity. Sometimes. And they had to put new filter systems in. So honestly, flying in a plane is probably safer than being in this room. Because they probably have something like Mr. Coltis has in his classroom that purifies the air. He bought that for it was like $400 or $500, wasn't it?
Like $5.
$500. He has this big thing that sits in his classroom and it sucks the air in and cleans it and sends new air out. Yes, it is. He has shown that bad boy off. Yes.
I have a guidance meeting.
Okay. Well, we have
I'll be
one.
back though. It should probably be
Okay.
It's just from my schedule.
All right. Go ahead. All right. I think there's only one thing left, right?
And then we get to relax.
And then we get to relax.
Yes, I need to take a nap.
And you guys have already done this, by the way.
We have already done this one.
We have already done this as a review for chapter 3.
So I don't know if we need to do it
So
again.
yeah, we have
What type of pattern point deviation is P? Sam already told us what it was on the other one. It is a, P is a high what? Leverage point. How do I know? It is an outlier in the what direction?
Nice.
The x-axis right direction. What will happen if I take it out? And sometimes, you almost have to, cover it up with your hand, but I have this really cool, and it's kind of mind-blowing to me when you think about it. Electronic whiteout, isn't that an odd thing to think about? It used to blow my mind when I first got this smart board. I'm electronically, pretending something's not there. So if I take that out, what's the line gonna do? You can probably draw the new line in. It's going to kind of go like this. Oh, let me try that again. So the slope will what? Without P. Did I tell you what that one lady said who was in charge of the PTA on the one show we were watching? She was at a PTA meeting, and they were all ladies there except for one guy. And she said to all the ladies, "Come on, ladies, without the P, we're just all T and A." Which I thought was, you know what that means, Max? Okay. I won't explain it while I'm being recorded, but we'll talk about it later. Ladies have T and A. Sometimes they're called B.
Oh.
Okay. I guess men have that too, but they're not, okay. Without P, the line increases its slope y-intercept. So it has a large effect. All right. And because of the beauty of electronic ink and whiteout, I can bring it back to its original glory. What type of point is Q? Q is a or an outlier or residual outlier, sometimes called regression outlier. I have a really good worksheet for explaining why we call this linear regression. So I hope you come to AP Statistics because we're going to do it. Okay, how do I know? It is an outlier in the what? In the Y direction. And if I take Q out, does anybody know what will happen? If that's not there at all, anybody know what's going to happen to the line? Probably it will drop a teeny tiny bit, like right to here. Pretty much nothing. So, removing may lower the line a teeny tiny bit. I didn't read you the teeny tiny woman book, did I? Once upon a time, there was a teeny tiny woman who lived in a teeny tiny house in a teeny tiny village. I didn't read you that book, did I? Okay. What point affects the slope of the LSRL the most? P. It increases slope. Q. Most likely will not change the slope. And so now, you guys at home, I do not have the link up yet, but I need you to take a picture from page 23 to page 34 and upload all of that, and I will make the link for that. I will do it right now. Classwork. Assignment. It's going to be worth 25 points. Title. Final exam review with no final exam. 2020-2021. I got this. Fall semester. Virtual students, please upload pages 23 to 34, which is 12 pages, right? Is that what this ended on? Did we end on 34 or 33?
34.
And we started on 23?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I subtract that, I get 11, but there's really 12 pages. When is it due? Today? Topic? Virtual homework answers and corrections. Students? it's going to be for, I can figure this out. It's going to be for Jenna, Zach, Alex, Haley, Will, and Talia. Talia, Will, and Skylar is at home. Okay.
Miss Garrett,
Yes, sir.
could I send you two different, like, so the scroll throughs? Cause I scanned 23 through 28, a couple of days ago, cause I thought we were gonna turn it in already. And I was wondering if I could just send you two different scans of, like, the setup or whatever.
So what you're saying is you want to be difficult.
I just don't wanna have to take.
No, I'm just kidding.
pictures
Yes, you
when I
can
already have half of them.
You can definitely do that. How do you do that without having to take the one, like people are telling me once you load something, you have to take it down and reload. That's obviously not true, right?
Well, no, I already saved it. Once you save the scan, you can't go in and edit it.
I know, but how do you get 2 posts for this one assignment?
I can just add more. I don't know. Wait, I guess you're asking.
You can add multiple attachments.
Then why are people telling me that they have to unload and reload or something?
I mean, they just don't know.
They're
They
playing
don't-
you.
They don't know. They are playing me.
Well, no, you can't do it if you already turned it in. There's like in there.
Oh, as long as you don't click turn it in, you can do it?
Yeah, you can add as many as you want.
Ah, so if you click on the turn it in button, then it's all, you have to start from scratch.
Come to Meg and then add more stuff to it.
Okay. All right. Let me start.